Hello there guys, what is going on? SonOfChelsea back here again for another edition of Let's Talk Chelsea. Hope you're all doing well and keeping safe on this Monday. Going to be talking today about some transfer stuff, Thomas Tuchel transfer targets, discussing some names we haven't recently on the channel and what the business could look like for the club in terms of incomings in the summer for next season. Also, the futures of Fikayo Tomori doing so well on loan at AC Milan, his exit looking more and more likely this summer, Marc Guehi, and also Tammy Abraham to West Ham. But before we get into any of that good stuff, please hit that like button because it helps new people find the channel. Also, if you want more Chelsea content on this massive week once again for the club, I want to ask you guys, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss an upload. But let's get into the news, and of course thinking about next season, it's hard to look to next season because Chelsea have so many big things on the horizon in the coming weeks. It's not just the men's team, of course the women's team winning the Women's Super League yesterday, but they've got their Champions League final next weekend against Barcelona. We've got the FA Cup final on Saturday against Leicester. We've got the Champions League final. So a lot historically could happen that could be of great significance to Chelsea and Chelsea fans in the coming weeks. Hopefully very positively we can pick up 2 trophies and replicate the amazing success of 2012. But we have been speaking on the channel for months now as we get closer to the summer around transfers looking to next season. I think primarily now for me it's about strengthening the team. Tuchel has done such an amazing job in such a short space of time. He deserves to be backed and backed with the right players. I think my big thing about this summer is Chelsea don't need to go out and spend loads on 5 to 6 players. It really isn't like that like it was last summer. I think actually an important thing in what is still a COVID market that's going to be hard to sell. I think the big challenge once again for Marina is selling players, because there are some players that need to leave, whether that is the likes of Tammy Abraham, we'll get to Fikayo Tomori, people in the loan army out and about, and some players in the current squad. I look at the likes of Emerson potentially who could be on the move this summer. So that's the difficulty. But in terms of incomings, I think spending more on less players that are actually going to improve key areas of the pitch, and that's a big thing. I think 3 of the areas for me: centre back, central defensive midfield and striker. I think centre back is my least preferred option, but one name that has been brought up, and this comes from a piece last week from the Sunday World, Kevin Palmer, top targets. Chelsea already making plans for a trio of marquee signings after a change in transfer plans. It talks about Jadon Sancho that we spoke about last week, has been rumoured that he may be leaving Borussia Dortmund, more likely actually than Erling Haaland this summer. And could that be a name Chelsea go in for? But we've known about Sancho, Lukaku, Haaland, even some ridiculous rumours about Harry Kane. That won't be happening this summer. But a name I mentioned months back when, I think it was just when Tuchel arrived, it may have been his first week at Chelsea, in a defensive sense, is Marquinhos from PSG, as I felt would be a really smart option. Of course, these two worked together at PSG and has been such a brilliant defender for the club and was such an important player. I picked up this quote from Thomas Tuchel when he was at PSG earlier in the season. In Sunday World, they do bring up the name of Marquinhos as one of the names Tuchel has recommended in the central defensive position. We've talked about Nicolas Sula potentially from Bayern Munich as a name Chelsea have been linked with pretty consistently in recent months. But Marquinhos, this quote here from Tuchel when he was working at PSG, I think back in October: Marquinhos is the heart and soul of our team. I have said on this channel before, and we will get to this when we speak about I think both Fikayo Tomori and Marc Guehi, is I don't think centre-back's my prime area that I think Chelsea need to improve. But the more you hear noise consistently around the centre-back, it does lead me to believe it is going to be one of those positions. I'd be a little bit frustrated at the moment, despite how well our midfield's doing, if Chelsea once again don't improve our central defensive midfield area, because I think that's actually top of my list at the moment. But in the case of Marquinhos, what I like about him, of course, the two have worked together already. He's a very experienced player, but also what I like about him, he's a very versatile player. He's in the mould for me in a sense of Cesar Azpilicueta. I think I referenced Dave months back when we spoke about Marquinhos as why I like the idea of having players who can play a variety of roles under a manager like Thomas Tuchel, who is a very flexible manager, could be moving from a 3-back to a 4-back system, can potentially play in midfield at times. You know, the way Tuchel likes to rotate players pretty frequently. I think Marquinhos also has that kind of warrior spirit, and that's not, you know, at all the times aesthetically pleasing, but I think could absolutely work for the impact in the Premier League. One of those players that is absolutely a warrior on the pitch. And we see many of those great performances from Chelsea players, much more leadership leadership qualities in players that we've doubted have them in recent weeks. That's why we're in a Champions League final, so you've got to credit the mentality and character Tuchel has implemented, but maybe just to add on top of that more experience, and maybe Marquinhos at his age, he's not an older player, like he's not at the age of say Thiago Silva, but may see a new challenge in the Premier League this summer and may want to reunite with Thomas Tuchel. We've seen the way Thiago Silva, the great relationship he has with Tuchel as well. So I think that Marquinhos is one of those names actually beyond others we've spoken about, whether it's Varane. I know Alaba's now of course going to Real Madrid, but other names, bigger names that we've spoken about before, that actually more excites me, because I think there is more possibility of Marquinhos potentially happening. And also I think it makes more sense if you desperately, and if Tuchel, you have to back him, desperately wants to bring in a new defender. I think absolutely then this has a knock-on effect for me with Fikayo Tomori. Matt Law wrote this piece today actually about Fikayo Tomori. Tomori scored a big goal in AC Milan's big 3-0 win against Juventus last night. It was a massive win for Milan, who have done so well this season. I mean, they're such a talented squad. I think, of course, from a Chelsea perspective, you're looking at Tomori. We've spoken about Frank Kessie in the past as a potential midfield option in the summer, but it seems more and more likely now that Tomori, who's enjoying his time out in Milan, is closer to making that move permanent. This is what Matt Law had to say today. Chelsea defender Tomori's man of the match performance for AC Milan on Sunday night has pushed him even closer to staying at the Italian club. Sources in Italy now believe it is inevitable that Tomori will remain at Milan, either on an initial £25 million deal or another loan with the guarantee of a permanent move. Tomori is currently on loan at Milan until the end of the season, and as part of the agreement, the Serie A club have an option to buy him for 25 million, rising to 30 million. And I just want to combine this with news we got from The Athletic today about Marc Guehi. And of course, Marc Guehi is a really exciting prospect for Chelsea. He's been on loan with Swansea this season in the Championship, has thrived so much, and is a name I've constantly brought up that I have a lot of excitement and hope that Guehi may find himself in the first team squad for next season if he impresses Tuchel in pre-season this summer. But this is about extending his deal with Chelsea. Chelsea have triggered a 12-month optional extension in Marc Guehi's contract that ties the England under-21 international to the club for the next 2 years. The deadline to activate that clause was not until May the 15th, but Chelsea saw no reason to delay making a decision about a player who is highly regarded at Stamford Bridge and the subject of serious interest. He may not need a loan move, and I think firstly, Tomori, I think it's inevitable at this point. I have said on Twitter in the past couple of days that I'm not quite sure about letting Tomori go still, because I think there's two factors as to why. Maybe we've just accepted it now that he's going to be moving on and he seems very settled there, and we just sort of accepted that he's leaving without thinking that it still could be a big mistake. I also think, of course, the current situation at Chelsea in our defence, it's so good at the moment. Christensen had an amazing end to the season. Of course, Antonio Rudiger has stepped up to new levels at Chelsea. Dave, that back three, Kurt Zouma, Thiago Silva, hopefully going to be here once again next season, extending his deal very soon. So I think all of those factors, make the idea of letting Tomori go more palatable maybe, but I still concerned about it, because I still concern in 2 to 3 years Chelsea will regret this. I'm not just looking at this within the context of the next year, or even, I know some Chelsea fans, and it's very realistic at Chelsea to do this because how unpredictable our club is, to go in sort of 4 to 5 month cycles. But I think in the club, my big thing about this, whether it's Marc Guehi, whether it's letting Tammy Abraham go, whether it's letting Fikayo Tomori go, you've got to invest properly in these areas for me. So if Tomori goes on to have an outstanding career, which I expect him to do, which is in 3 to 4 years time, if Tomori's flourishing somewhere, Chelsea don't have a defensive problem, and we're not sat there thinking we could have kept Tomori, and we're looking for a centre-back ourselves and we have to go out and spend exorbitant amounts to improve that area. I hope Marc Guehi is promoted. Of course, I spoke earlier in the episode about Marquinhos, so that could be a really good option, or another centre-back coming in. I think Guehi just offers, once again, a left-sided sort of defender in a back three if Tuchel wants to use the back three. Chelsea don't currently have that, and a lot of clubs want that option in terms of build-up play, at the excitement level. And also the idea that you must have a Premier League loan, I don't think is the strongest argument. I think that every player's development is different, and I think that Fikayo Tomori, look at his development in terms of loans. He was at Hull, he was at Brighton, and then he was at Derby with Frank Lampard before he returned to Chelsea. He didn't have a Premier League loan and performed very well at a Premier League level for Chelsea when he was brought into the first team. I think it could be similar for Marc Guehi. I think people underrate the quality of the Championship now, and he's rated so highly there as one of the top performing centre-backs this season, and I would like at least him to be given a chance in the summer. Let me know your opinions on Tomori. Do you still think it's a massive mistake us letting him go? Do you think that's still quite cheap actually, and Chelsea should be trying to get more money for Tomori if he is to move permanently this summer to AC Milan? Also, Marc Guehi, his opportunities for Chelsea under Thomas Tuchel in the summer. Let me know in the comments below. And finally, just a little bit here on Tammy Abraham. West Ham to push for Abraham loan. This comes from the same piece. We got the Marc Guehi information for David Ornstein's piece on a Monday. And a loan move rather than the 40 million fee we've been hearing recently. West Ham will make a bid to sign Tammy Abraham this summer, even though Chelsea value him at 40 million, writes Simon Johnson. We know Chelsea, we know Marina, in terms of selling players this summer, we don't let players go usually for cheap. The way Marina's done deals to actually get more than any of us expected. Morata's probably the best example I can give you. And for me, Tammy on loan, I think that's silly. I mean, we'd have to convince Tammy to sign a new contract, and if I'm advising Tammy, I'm telling him not to do that. If Tuchel doesn't have him in his plans, there's no point in him extending his stay at Chelsea. I think Tammy's in a very strong position actually. If he wants to leave, he's Chelsea's top goal scorer this season. He's done nothing wrong. We've discussed Tammy a lot of times on this channel. I don't want to go over old ground. I think it's just talking about the realistic situation now where we expect Tammy to leave. I do think Chelsea need to get 40 million for him, because I think that's a fair fee actually for what he's produced at Chelsea, even in a COVID market. I mean, you look at the guy consistently getting you over 10 goals for the club, over 2 seasons, and could have got actually double figures in the Premier League this season as well, but he hasn't had enough chances to do it, unfortunately, since Tuchel has arrived in January. So I think that that's a fair fee actually, given what Tammy is actually doing for a player of his age at a normal rate. So I can understand Chelsea wanting that fee. And also, a bit like I was saying with Tomori, if we're going to let Tammy Abraham go, we have to replace him with someone better. That's my big thing for Chelsea this summer. If we're going to let Tammy Abraham go, you have to improve the striker position, because if you don't, we're going to look silly, I think, in a year's time personally. If we still have problems with striker, if we still have problems finishing our chances, and Tammy Abraham is somewhere else, people arguing, it's a fair point to bring up, we can't keep every player, and it's not the case that anytime a player leaves Chelsea and is successful somewhere else, you always blame the club. Context is everything, right? Context about the Lukaku situation years back. Would anyone not want to have Diego Costa and keep Lukaku? I don't think many Chelsea fans would accept that. I personally wouldn't. Having Diego, that was a justified decision. Diego was a part of 2 title-winning squads. Many other situations. Salah's another one for me that I don't really pin on the club. He moved from one club then to Liverpool. I don't really pin that on the club. You cannot keep every single talent. I think my whole thought process around this is, I think, investing properly, so you're not in a situation where we're regretting letting a player go that we could keep. Let me know your opinions on this. Tammy Abraham, I think it's quite clear he'll be moving on in the summer now, and Tuchel's really finding much more flow in that front three now. I think the confidence he has in Pulisic, the confidence he has in Timo Werner consistently, Kai Havertz now as a number 9. Let me know your thoughts on this situation in the comments below. But that is it for this episode of Let's Talk Chelsea. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch it. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and a notification bell so you never miss an upload. Follow me on Twitter at SonOfChelsea. Be back again for more videos tomorrow, and I'll see you again.